Okay, let's go. Hello, welcome to my first monthly wrap-up video in which I talk about all the books I read in March of 2021. Well, a little disclaimer, I will not talk about all the books I read I will not talk about all the books I read this month because I read some books about accounting for my exams, and let me tell you, the excitement level in those is off the charts and you wouldn't be able to handle it, so just moving on. The first... good start, isn't it? The first thing I actually read is a YA fantasy series, the Grisha series, the Grisha trilogy by Leigh Bardugo, consisting of Shadow and Bone, Siege and Storm, and Ruin and Rising. Oh! I realize now it's alliteration. Okay, never mind. So let me first talk you through all three of them and then just talk about my general feelings. The first one, Shadow and Bone, is a very nice introduction to the world. We follow this girl, Alina. It's from her point of view, and she discovers she possesses very powerful magic. And she's taken to this very strange place with its intrigues and internal politics, and basically she needs to find her place in this palace. So yeah, it serves as a nice introduction to the world. The world is based on Russian culture, which I think is fresh. I haven't read any fantasy books set in this kind of world. It shows off the magic system well. The magic system is elemental based, I'd say. And there are 3 orders of the magic users, the Grisha, and each of them can use magic in a different way. That was neat. I really liked that. And yeah, that's all I think. It's very, very light read. It's very well paced, well written. Good start. The second book in the series, and I'd say my favorite, is Siege and Storm, and what it does very well, it's one of the things I really like when it's done in fantasy, is combine magic and technology, or just generally it uses magic in a very creative way. So that's a big plus for me. Another big advantage of this book is that it introduces my favorite character of the series, Nikolai. I really like intelligent and witty characters, so what more could a girl ask for? Well, Alina would have asked for more, but never mind. Ruin and Rising is, well, kinda there. It's okay. The ending is satisfying, I'd say, especially if you're a fan, if you get attached to those characters. And one thing it succeeds at is it leaves you wanting more. Definitely. I'm currently reading Six of Crows, which is set in the same world, just in a different country. And yeah, I really like it, so we'll see how it goes. Some general thoughts and feelings. It's very well written. Leigh Bardugo definitely can just pull off very good. Well, the writer can write. That's a very good conclusion, isn't it? Very original. Anyway, the world building is neat, the magic system is good. The characters are, well, they range from okay, like Alina is a bit bland, to, well, genuinely one of my favorite characters ever. You never get bored, which is very good for this kind of book. I do have some complaints, unfortunately. I didn't really care for the romantic subplot. It did have the obligatory love triangle. love square or triangle. Well, it's geometry, I'm not gonna get into that. Anyway, there were multiple love interests. That was meh, okay. Another thing is they talk a lot about the war. Alina constantly mentions how her country is constantly at war. There are so many orphans, so many casualties. But we don't really get to see that firsthand. A lot of talking, not a lot of talking, not a lot of showing. So, yeah, I wish we.
Have you ever had a dream that you could?
Look at me failing at articulating how I'm failing at speaking. Well, that's just how it goes. Anyway, I wish there'd been more of the war, if that makes sense. And my biggest complaint about the whole series is that Alina is a map maker. This line even made it into the Netflix series, into the trailer of the Netflix series. Oh, there's a Netflix series. That's why I read the books. Never mind. Alina is a map maker, allegedly. And in the whole series, we don't see her make one single map. Why? What's up with that? Okay. I'm not gonna talk too much about it. I don't think anyone else cares, but here's my thoughts. So yeah, generally I really liked it. I would recommend it. It's a very nice, light read. Very well written, nice world, original. More maps from Alina. Leigh Bardugo, please. We're not gonna get them, are we? The next book I read is actually historical fiction, and it's set in my favorite period of all time, 16th century, in England mostly. I'm talking about Mirror and Light by Hilary Mantel. It's the final book in the Wolf Hall trilogy, detailing Thomas Cromwell's rise to power and his subsequent downfall. Thomas Cromwell was a minister, well, not a minister, he was the minister of Henry VIII. What we see here is a lot of backstage scheming, intrigues. If you're into this kind of stuff, that's a book for you. This particular installment begins right after the execution of Anne Boleyn. Is that a spoiler? It's not a spoiler, is it? It was 500 years, I believe. Sorry, just in case. And Thomas Cromwell needs to deal with the consequences of that. There are queens, there are marriage proposals, there are intrigues, there are uprisings. Everything is here. It's written in a very particular style that's not going to be to everyone's liking. I kind of associate it with the stream of consciousness because then the narration flows like you get through very, very swiftly through all those time jumps, all those flashbacks. Yeah, but it's very poetic prose. And one thing about this book is it's incredibly immersive. You feel transported to the 16th century London, and you just feel it. You smell it. That's not nice. You smell it. You see all the things that people are doing, their daily activities. And well, it's nice, it's compelling. But when you think about all the research that the author had to do to kind of get this feeling for what daily life was like in the 16th century, not only of the nobles but of every class, is just mind-blowing. Yeah, so that's a big boy, but I would recommend it. Mirror and Light by Hilary Mantel. The next one is the one I've been waiting for so long. For 30 years. Well, no, not for 30 years. It came out in autumn of 2020, but I actually read it in March because it wasn't translated until then. It's Dawnshard by my favorite author of all time, Brandon Sanderson. So yeah, I'm just gonna be praising this book. No complaints here. It's, as you can see, it's a very short story. It's a novella actually. It's set on Roshar, which is the world of the Stormlight Archive series. It's what you'd call a 3.5 book. So what Sanderson does is he takes those minor characters, those background characters we meet in the main series, and gives them like a novella to kind of develop their personalities and give them some arc. Here we follow one of my favorite background characters from the Stormlight Archive, Risen, who is a merchant, and she is sent on a very dangerous and mysterious mission to an abandoned land. So it's got ships, it's got travel, it's got journey, it's got Risen, it's got the Lopen. You know what I'm talking about. I think you could read that separately from the main series, but you wouldn't get that much out of it, and it would probably spoil some of the things from Oathbringer. Yeah, it definitely would. So another thing about this is that Risen, our main character, is actually disabled. There's this incredible attention to detail when it comes to her just living her life and trying to cope with everyday activities. And yeah, it's amazing. Just read it if you haven't already. If you haven't read The Way of Kings is the first one, so start with The Way of Kings. You'll get to this one eventually. 10 out of 10. Find up. On Goodreads it's 5 out of 5, isn't it? Yeah, so 5 out of 5. Amazing. Unfortunately, Sanderson books have this effect on me that after that I usually have a cool down period before I start reading anything else, because otherwise this other book comes across not that well in comparison.
While Danny kind of forgot about...
I kind of forgot about that after Dawnshard. Anyway, the last book I read is Spin the Dawn by Elizabeth Lim. It looked very interesting. I think it's also a debut novel. I'm not sure. So on the cover it says in the blurb that it's Project Runway meets Mulan. And yeah, it's a YA fantasy inspired by East Asian culture and legends. We follow this girl. What's her name? Her name is Maya, and we follow her as she needs to disguise herself as a man to go to the imperial court instead of her father and brother because they're no good. Because the emperor is looking for a new tailor and she is very talented. So the first half of the book is this competition that's held at court for different tailors, and so she gets to the final, and the other half is a kind of a quest to retrieve different items in order to solve 3 mythological dresses, which is supposedly impossible. And my biggest complaint is that it should have been one or the other. I would have read the entire book on either the quest or the competition. Because the way it is written now is a bit underdeveloped. Each challenge could have taken more page time, screen time, how do you say that? Never mind. It could have been longer, and on this quest most of the things, even though they're described as very difficult, well, they kind of, she gets off too easily, if you know what I mean. Do you? Don't answer that. It was a rhetorical question. So yeah, but it was very charming. It gave me kind of this fairy tale feeling, this kind of legend based on ancient legends feeling. I didn't really care for the romantic subplot and the romantic interest. He was trying to be witty and tragic, but I really didn't buy it. But yeah, I almost forgot about one thing I really loved about the book, because it's written from the perspective of Maya, and when she talks about different things she uses a lot of sewing metaphors and similes, so that's great. It gives her this very specific voice that's connected with her life and with her talents. I really loved that. One thing I think would have added to the book, I mean not to the plot obviously, but to its reception, would be illustrations, because look at that, it's gorgeous. It also has this gorgeous map, kind of stylized map of the land. And yeah, I wish there were some illustrations just in the middle of the story. It would have been nice. So, but yeah, it's a very nice story. I'm definitely gonna read other books by the author, and when the sequel comes out, I'm buying it. But especially after Dawnshard, it was a bit underwhelming. Kind of, you could say that Dawnshard kind of eclipsed this one. Okay, it's time to wrap this up, isn't it? So, thanks for watching, and sorry for all of my problems with words and language in general. This is probably my 3rd take, because my phone decided it didn't have enough room to store all the things I recorded. So I basically spent about 15 minutes talking to myself instead of you. I hope I got it all now. We'll see. Anyway, so this was my first monthly wrap up, and thanks for watching. These were the books I read. See you next time. I didn't really think of an outro. See ya.